Co-Q10 for perpetual youth, protection from diseases and increasing immunity. What is coenzyme Q10? The human being is a very large group of cells that may reach several trillions, organized, and formed by the power of God, in order to consist of tissues, organs, and systems. The functioning of these organs is a whole, as well as our thinking, and our feelings are really the wonderful, ingenious harmony and cooperation of the functions of these trillions of tiny units called cells. This harmony, cooperation and teamwork depends on basic factors, but most important of which is a factor that scientists call coenzyme Q10, which for the sake of facilitation can be seen as one of the vitamins that are found in the body. The coenzyme makes all the cells of the body, and in the absence of it, the cells die. Meaning this body dies and is unable to survive. Benefits of coenzyme Q10. 1. Preventing disease and slowing down the aging process of the body. 2. Clear help for patients suffering from heart diseases. 3. Reducing simple and moderate arterial hypertension. 4. Providing the body with energy, strength and vitality, even for those who have advanced age. 5. Supporting the immune system to fight disease including resistance occurrence of cancer. 6. Reversing the harmful effects of the use of cholesterol-lowering drugs. 7. Regulating the functioning of the nervous system, and improving the actual disturbances. 8. An antioxidant that protects cells from damage about oxidation. 9. Protecting the gums from the pests that affect them. This happens a lot in advanced age. These points are the issues that concern every person who desires optimal health and a fulfilling balanced life. For beginners, who do not know much about this factor, coenzyme Q10 is an essential component in the field of energy production that the cells of the body need for their normal functioning. Any deficiency in coenzyme Q10 is seen as a restriction of energy production, as if the body and its cells were a machine powered by discharged batteries. Unfortunately, this description applies to many people, most of whom suffer from a lack of coenzyme Q10, and this deficiency casts a dark shadow on health, and even accelerates the aging of humans. In addition to its participation in the production of energy for the cells of the body, coenzyme Q10 is one of the most important and powerful antioxidant factors in the body. And therefore it protects cells from the so-called free radicals, which are molecules that destroy body tissues and accelerate aging and the occurrence of degenerative diseases. Some recent exciting research has come out, indicating that coenzyme Q10 also activates some genes that are based, in a way, on protecting the body from diseases and stimulating vitality and youth in aging cells. It's unfortunate, even sad, that a lot of doctors either haven't heard of Co-Q10, or at least don't care about it. And this is a tragedy, because just raising the percentage of this factor in the blood will have its benefits. Improving health in general, pumping energy into the body, and a profitable drug yield in every sense of the word. Fortunately, coenzyme Q10 is available as a dietary supplement, which is a natural copy of what the body produces, and therefore its use is completely safe, and in contrast to pharmaceutical drugs, it has no side effects. And it does not require a prescription from a doctor. You can buy it from stores' natural health products, just like you buy vitamin C, or any other natural products. Now we will show the foods that contain a high proportion of Co-Q10. Most people trying to follow a healthy diet rich in whole foods and low in processed foods are already getting some dietary intake of Co-Q10. But if you want to boost your Co-Q10 levels, and your cardiovascular health, make sure some of these foods are in your weekly diet. 1 fatty fish, sardines, salmon, trout, mackerel. 2 organ meats, kidney, liver. 3 vegetables, spinach, broccoli, cauliflower. 4 meats, chicken, beef. 5 legumes, soybeans, lentils, peanuts. 6 oils, soybean and canola oils. 7 whole grains. 8 nuts and seeds, pistachio, sesame seeds. If you do not suffer from any disease and your age is less than 50 years, in this case, make sure to eat the previous foods in your weekly diet in order to maintain a good percentage of the coenzyme in your body and thus benefit from the enormous benefits of this enzyme. If you suffer from any of the following diseases: 1. An increase in harmful cholesterol while taking cholesterol-lowering drugs. 2. High arterial pressure or any heart disease. 3. Diseases of the immune system or nerve infections. 4. Continuous migraine. 5. An increase in the secretion of thyroid hormones in the blood. In this case, you should use the Co-Q10 supplement, because these diseases greatly reduce the proportion of coenzyme in the body, which negatively affects the general health and reduces the chances of recovery from these diseases. We will show you some of these supplements in the next minutes. And I hope you continue watching the video to know the dosage and how to take this enzyme. In addition to the cases that need the Co-Q10 supplement despite the fact that they do not have any disease, they are people over the age of 50, as well as anyone who performs intense muscle effort, because moderate muscular effort urges the body to manufacture and produce coenzyme Q10. But intense continuous and exhausted muscular effort leads to this factor is depleted. Because the muscles need excessive amounts of it to help burn and produce the energy needed for that effort. Professional athletes, especially for high-impact games, and those who ride long-distance bikes on the weekends are most vulnerable to this deficiency. Since 1960, scientists from Japan, Europe, Australia, India, and the United States of America have been studying the curative and health potential of factor Q10, primarily on the cardiovascular system. But in the last decade, there has been a lot of studies and research progress in all diseases related to age, such as disabling brain disorders. Rather, the research extended to the mechanisms of aging itself. Currently, scientific research material has reached nearly 4,000 studies, and 11 international conferences have been held, all devoted to coenzyme Q10, and yet, scientists believe they have only gone beyond the rind of this great topic with their knowledge concerning its enormous functions, and how adding it to food can improve health. But what is known about this factor can be summarized as the shining star among all the factors that support and secure a healthy life. The absolute importance of Q10 for life. In 1972, Fokkers, one of the prominent chemists at Merck, New Jersey, and an Italian researcher named Gianpaolo were able to discover a deficiency of coenzyme Q10 in heart patients. This original research led to numerous subsequent studies showing significant benefits of using it as nutritional support in patients with heart disease. Most of the research and clinical applications of factor Q10 continued, over the years, focused on its effects on the heart and circulatory system, but recently, scientists' aspirations began to go beyond the limits of the heart, and found promising uses for its use against cancer, muscle and brain disorders, in addition to its magical effect against aging. Accumulating reports from many scholars have documented what Volkers believed that there would come a day when medical knowledge would recognize the important benefits of Q10. It is the cornerstone of that process, and it is an absolute necessity of life. During his years in scientific research, Volkers received many honorable mentions, including the Presidential Science Award from Harry Truman in 1948 and again from George Bush in 1990. Your body makes coenzyme Q10 and nearly every cell in the body produces coenzyme Q10. But many people lack this compound. Here are 5 reasons why. Causes of coenzyme Q10 deficiency in the human body. The first reason: food. The body needs a number of components in order to be able to manufacture coenzyme Q10. And these compounds include an amino acid called tyrosine, along with at least 7 vitamins, namely B2, B3, B6, folic acid, B12, pantothenic acid and vitamin C. The problem is that people in general do not eat well, and often do not get enough of their necessary nutrients. And therefore their bodies fail to manufacture enough of their needs of coenzyme Q10, Volkers says. Extensive studies on the nutritional status of humans have proven the validity of this saying, as it was found in these studies that a large percentage of people have a deficiency in many essential vitamins and minerals. If we take, for example, vitamin B6, which is one of the important vitamins in the group that the body needs to manufacture coenzyme Q10, and I look at any study of nutritional deficiencies in any population group, I will find that vitamin B6 is always a common factor, and the deficiency in this vitamin is especially evident in the elderly, and in individuals who eat a diet rich in starchy materials from grains without skin, and a diet poor in vegetables and fruits. One study conducted to investigate this relationship showed that a lack of vitamin B6 intake in this group of people did not support optimal production of factor Q. In fact, the body can extract part of coenzyme Q10 directly from food, but this depends on the type of food eaten, as this factor is naturally present in a small amount in many foods. The best food source of Q10 is the meat of some animal organs such as the heart, liver, and kidneys. Also in some marine fish, peanuts, salmon, sardines, and soybeans. All of these foods are not consumed in sufficient quantities by most people. To be clear, we say that in order to get 30 mg of coenzyme Q10 through food, you need to eat a pound of sardines, or 2 pounds of beef, or about 2.5 pounds of peanuts, knowing that 30 mg of coenzyme Co-Q10 may be sufficient to maintain general health. But this amount is not sufficient to reach therapeutic levels useful in preventing disease. The second reason: use of cholesterol-lowering drugs. Pharmaceutical factories are developing and producing cholesterol-lowering drugs, statins, and people, even healthy ones, use them as drugs to prevent high cholesterol. But these drugs have their caveats and side effects that only some people who are interested in are aware of, Research has shown that these drugs reduce the production of coenzyme Q10 in the body. The third reason, the aging factor. It has been shown that tissue production of factor Q gradually decreases with age. Scientists say that this decrease begins after the age of 20. And the decrease accelerates significantly after the age of 40. Comments on this, the discoverer of coenzyme Q10, Fred Crane. It seems that production decreases with age, and since the most important place for this compound to work is the mitochondria, which are the energy-producing factories in the cell. And on this basis the energy available for the function of cells decreases, and this may explain why it fades away. Strength and energy with age. Fourth reason, doing intense muscle effort. It is believed that moderate muscular effort stimulates the body to manufacture and produce coenzyme Q10. But intense continuous and exhausted muscular effort leads to depletion of this factor, due to the muscles needing excessive amounts of it to help burn and produce the energy needed for that effort. Professional athletes, especially for high-impact games, and those who ride long-distance bikes on the weekends are most vulnerable to this deficiency. They are consuming very large amounts of coenzyme Q10, and if this deficiency is not compensated for in their diet, it may harm their health, says Peter Langson. Cardiologist Peter Langson says, "I remember the case of a young man from the Navy who came to me and had a markedly impaired cardiac function. Although this type of youth, they have superhuman strength, they do very hard and strenuous exercises, and besides, their work schedules often do not contain enough rest." And this doctor adds, "I have seen cases of weakness in the performance of the heart muscle in many of those who suffer from obsessive-compulsive disorder. And they run for long distances until they exhaust themselves completely. And I was wondering, if heart failure occurs in such perfectly fit young men, it must be due to a deficiency of something. And that this deficiency may have eventually led to a relaxation of the heart." Fifth reason, hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism, that is, an excess of the hormones of this gland in the blood. This condition is characterized by descriptive signs and symptoms such as anxiety, nervousness, increased heart rate, excessive irritability, muscle weakness and sometimes bulging eyes, and finally weight loss. The increase in the secretion of thyroid hormones speeds up the metabolism, and one of the consequences of this is the depletion of the body's production of coenzyme Q10. Which in turn leads to additional problems. The heart is the first organ to be targeted, and this not only leads to arrhythmia, but can also cause heart failure. I've seen cases of heart failure in patients who had not previously diagnosed hyperthyroidism, and they did not have the usual symptoms to see, says Dr. Sinatra. In those cases, Dr. Sananza recommends that patients with impaired thyroid function, especially hyperactivity, to take supplemental doses of coenzyme Q10. Few cardiologists use coenzyme Q10. In Japan, coenzyme Q10 is the fifth most commonly prescribed heart medication, as Japanese cardiologists know its value. Until recently, the drug was only available by prescription in Japan, but since 2001 it has been available to everyone without the need for a prescription, just as is the case in the United States of America. However, in America most doctors ignore it. Dr. Sinatra believes that perhaps less than 1% of cardiologists know this drug and use it in their practice. So others are missing out on a lot of a drug of great therapeutic benefit. How does that happen? Scientific studies have proven the usefulness of coenzyme Q10. And all the successes that led to it among patients made them appreciate its benefits. Why do they miss the train? One of the main reasons is that coenzyme Q10 is just a food compound and not a licensed drug. In exotic societies, generally pharmaceutical companies control the practice of medicine, and they are researched and experimented in order to develop, produce, license, and then market the drugs to the practitioners who prescribe them to their patients. Medical staff members and specialists tend to treat their patients according to the systems and protocols approved in their specialties. These systems and protocols insist on the adoption of modern medical technologies and pharmaceutical drugs, not nutritional supplements, additives and compounds. Dozens of studies on this subject and from all over the world have shown that coenzyme Q10 is a very safe and effective compound, and if it is prescribed to those who suffer from severe illness, all that must be done is to give sufficient doses of it until its level in the blood reaches the level leading to recovery. However, it seems, from what is going on in the current medical environment, that nutritional support compounds, no matter how vitally important, or how necessary they are, do not receive sufficient recognition. It is often met with neglect or inferiority of its importance. Although many of the medicinal elements cause a deficiency of many nutritional compounds. In fact, coenzyme Q10 is the victim of this biased medical position. How to take coenzyme Q10. Before we get into the particulars, you should keep in mind that while Agent Q can do wonders, it is not the elixir of life that cures all ailments. So you should not expect it to carry a lifeline for all bodily ailments, or correct broken systems for the behavior of life. It is also important to point out that individuals who are deficient in coenzyme Q10 often have a deficiency in other essential nutrients, which can contribute to poor health and delays in healing mechanisms, and this is most applicable to individuals who are advanced in age, as well as those who take large amounts of medication for various medical reasons. Experiments conducted on Americans of different ages, to evaluate their nutritional status, have indicated that many of them have a deficiency of many sensitive nutrients. Given this, it may be in the interest of good health not to take coenzyme Q10 alone, but to at least combine it with a broad spectrum of vitamins and minerals. It is recommended to take coenzyme Q10 during a meal, preferably if there is some fat in the meal, as coenzyme Q10 is fat-soluble and is better absorbed in a medium containing fat. The concentration factor in food is important for the absorption of coenzyme Q10. Research has shown that the body can benefit from a maximum dose of 180 mg at a time, and therefore if you are prescribed large doses, it is better to divide it into many times. Not to exceed the dose 180 mg at one time. Langshon says his patients take 100 mg twice daily. Experts also recommend that coenzyme Q10 be kept away from heat and direct sunlight, and therefore stored in a cool and dark place. How much coenzyme Q10 should be taken to prevent disease? Unlike vitamins and minerals, coenzyme Q10 is not an essential nutrient that we should take in our food or else we will be harmed. And the reason for this is that we make coenzyme Q10 in our bodies, although a deficiency may occur in our body due to aging factors, or some genetic causes, or due to poor diet, or physical stress. And finally, it may be due to taking too much medication. Despite all that, doctors do not recommend taking additional supplies of coenzyme Q10 as a preventative. The research conducted on coenzyme Q10 is very numerous, and it is steadily increasing, but no one really knows what is the exact dose of support that an individual should take as a way of prevention. Studies on this particular issue have not been conducted, and therefore we had no choice but to rely on the experts in this compound are those researchers and practitioners who use it extensively. Use 30 to 100 milligrams for good health. One such expert from Texas cardiologist Dr. Peter Langsjon, who himself has been taking a daily boost of coenzyme Q10 and prescribing it to his patients for the past 20 years. Dr. Langsjon believes that a healthy person in their 40s can take a boost of coenzyme Q10 at 30 to 60 mg daily and will undoubtedly experience many benefits. Most of what we know about dosing is from disease states, but we have seen satisfactory blood levels of coenzyme Q10, as well as improvement in cardiac function. If an individual takes between 30 to 60 mg per day, Dr. Langsjon says, it seems reasonable that such an amount should be taken for good health and proper energy. When you reach the age of 50, start taking coenzyme Q10 for the rest of your life. Dr. Anthony Linnan, an expert in aging and coenzyme Q10, who is himself 75, believes that everyone over the age of 50 should take coenzyme Q10 support for the rest of their lives. He recommends a dose of 100 mg per day, while he himself takes 500 mg per day. He also calls for the addition of vitamin C and vitamin E for their antioxidant benefits. We are not perfect devices. So why not help facilitate the processes of this device by giving nutritional support from outside to improve its functioning, says Dr. Linnan. What dose is needed to give the therapeutic effect? The therapeutic dose of coenzyme Q10 is usually 100 to 600 mg daily. Dr. Langsjon recommends a dose of 100 mg per day for heart patients who review it as a general therapeutic dose. He says, if you can afford it, take 100 mg twice a day, and if someone is very ill, they can take 400 mg a day. An individual may require higher doses if absorption from the gut is poor, or if there is severe heart failure with severe edema. On a personal level, how does one know that the amount of coenzyme Q10 they are taking is doing its job well? The most obvious thing you can feel is an improvement in your energy, vitality, and stamina. Check the level of coenzyme Q10 in the blood if possible. Objectively, you can ask your doctor to check the level of coenzyme Q10 in your blood. This measurement has become available in some laboratories, and laboratories offering this service are increasing with the increase in interest in it. And this in turn gives a more accurate idea of coenzyme Q10 in the body. The normal blood level is 0.8 to 1.2 microgram per milliliter. However, in order to reach a useful therapeutic level, experts say the level should be raised to 2.5 to 3.0 microgram per milliliter blood, with supportive doses. Cardiologist Dr. Frank Sinatra noted that coenzyme Q10 sometimes fails to show its therapeutic ability in some medical studies, and attributed this to the fact that researchers did not work to obtain adequate and appropriate levels of coenzyme Q10 in the blood, due to its administration in inappropriate quantities. Enough for patients. Dr. Sinatra has found that the higher the level of coenzyme Q10 in the blood, the greater the benefit. How safe is it while taking coenzyme Q10? Agent Q has a very high degree of safety. Dr. Langsjon comments that he has never heard any complaints from patients who use it, after he has prescribed it to thousands of patients. But it is mentioned in the medical literature that 1 to 2% of those who use it feel some infectious disorders. But he confirms that he did not meet a single case complaining of this despite his description of this compound over 20 years of practice. But he comments on the topic nonetheless and says, if you feel an upset or stomach upset, it may go away by reducing the dose of the coenzyme you take or changing the form of the coenzyme you use. Are all forms of Q10 the same? Although the first Q10 discoveries were made in the United States of America, Japan dominated commercial production. In the mid-1970s, the fermentation technology by which pure coenzyme Q10 was produced from yeast was well developed in Japan. Nowadays, there are 2 Japanese pharmaceutical manufacturing companies that supply the market with most of its needs of coenzyme Q10, which is prescribed to patients, as well as used in research. Experts say that these products are of good quality. Coenzyme Q10 comes in 3 forms: capsules containing a yellow powder, or loose gelatin in which the coenzyme is dissolved. Q10 in a medium of neutral oil, or tablets. Experts advise that if you do not notice the expected results by using one of these 3 forms, you can switch to another form, as the reason may be that the first form is not absorbed. If you are treating some people with coenzyme Q10, and they don't respond to the compound, there may be no absorption for it, says cardiologist Stephen Sinatra. I have seen patients taking doses of coenzyme Q10 up to 500 mg per day. Yet the level of coenzyme Q10 in their blood was within the normal limits seen even without taking any support from this compound. I watched a young man take 200 mg of coenzyme Q10 per day. But the level of the compound in his blood was 0.8 microgram per milliliter. When he was replaced by another form, his blood level rose to 3.0 microgram per milliliter. And he began to feel a whole new quality of his lifestyle. No matter what type and form of coenzyme Q10 you take, it will double its level in your blood if you take it during a meal than if you take it with water alone, and that condition alone can make a big difference, Dr. Langshon stresses. The relationship of vitamin B6 and coenzyme Q10. The B-complex group of vitamins, especially vitamin B6, plays a central role by some enzymes in the production of coenzyme Q10 in the body. And both vitamin B6 and coenzyme Q10 decrease in the body with age. For this reason, researchers at the University of Texas at Austin recommend that their patients take additional support from both coenzyme Q10 and vitamin B6 together. In this way, there is a better stimulation of the production of coenzyme Q10 in the body, and researchers published a report in the journal Biofactors in this regard in 1999. As already noted, coenzyme Q10 is expensive, so individuals who cannot afford the higher doses can take lower doses. While stimulating the synthesis of coenzyme Q10 in their bodies by taking vitamin B6 as it is inexpensive. Dr. Langshon mentions a case of a patient whose level of coenzyme as well as vitamin B6 was very low, and the patient was not able to buy the coenzyme, and put him on 100 mg of vitamin B6 daily. As he was able to buy it, and when he checked the level of coenzyme Q10 in his blood after 2 months, he noticed a significant rise, but it did not reach the desired level. But this height pleased the doctor. Coenzyme Q10 future. Modern medicine has adopted the view that depends on attacking the disease sharply and qualitatively using various means such as the use of antibiotics, strong specific drugs, chemical treatments, and surgery, all without harming or destroying body tissues. It's a medical legend. A person may recover from a particular condition, suffer or even die from something else caused by the treatment. In general, the time we spent applying all means of medication and surgery. It doesn't mean we've ever recovered a semblance of health. Patients started looking for something different. And if medical thinking comes to maturity, It is likely to appreciate the change towards the body's need for some support from essential nutrients such as coenzyme Q10, and this is in fact all the title of an integral medical approach means. Nowadays, many large hospitals and university medical centers have taken modern steps towards this direction, by opening clinics for alternative medicine or complementary medicine. Even a mild deficiency of coenzyme Q10 can be critical. The more scientific research delves into the mysteries of mitochondria. Mitochondria are important parts of cells, because they take in nutrients and make energy that can be used by the rest of the cell in the bioenergetic processes underlying disease. And in the event of aging itself, the study of coenzyme Q10 became increasingly important. Dr. Rolf Luft MD, Ph.D. of Karolinska Hospital in Sweden, one of the early discoverers of mitochondrial medicine, noted that even a slight deficiency of factor Q could be a major factor in the occurrence of mitochondrial disorder. The promising future. The Q10 assistant enzyme has recently received an increasing attention with time, simply because of the central role played by this boat in the body. Is any other compound has all these therapeutic qualities? Can we call another real estate for how many benefits, without the lowest side effects? But both alone or within other food groups, it is clear that the Q10 assistant enzyme represents a successful weapon in the hands of doctors in their fight against disease. The hope is not to know and use it, because ignorance will be an invalid patience. Dr. Ferhat Kren, the chemical researcher, which began its entire subject for the Q factor in 1957, summarizing the whole subject when we say, "What we know about enzyme Q10 sends excitement in our souls, but what we do not know so far may be more exciting." We apologize for the long video, but we wanted to clarify all the information and details on this important topic. In the remaining minutes of the video, we will present some information and the results of some scientific research on coenzyme Q10. Therefore, this part is intended for physicians, as it will contain specialized medical information and terminology. Therefore, we ask the doctors to follow the video until the end for more information that we hope will benefit them in their field of work. Coenzyme Q10 supplementation in aging and disease. Research. Edited by Paolo Bernardi, Università degli Studi di Padova, Italy. From Centro Andaluz de Biologia del Desarrollo and Sibera. Instituto de Salud Carlos III, Universidad Pablo de Olavide CSICR, Sevilla, Spain. Translational Gerontology Branch, National Institute on Aging, National Institutes of Health, Baltimore, Maryland, United States. Reviewed by Amadou K.S. Kamara, Medical College of Wisconsin, United States. Uwe Schlattner, Université Grenoble Alpes, France. Abstract. Coenzyme Q, Co-Q, is an essential component of the mitochondrial electron transport chain and an antioxidant in plasma membranes and lipoproteins. It is endogenously produced in all cells by a highly regulated pathway that involves a mitochondrial multiprotein complex. Defects in either the structural and/or regulatory components of Co-Q complex or in non-Co-Q biosynthetic mitochondrial proteins can result in a decrease in Co-Q concentration and/or an increase in oxidative stress. Besides Co-Q10 deficiency syndrome and aging, there are chronic diseases in which lower levels of Co-Q10 are detected in tissues and organs, providing the hypothesis that Co-Q10 supplementation could alleviate aging symptoms and/or retard the onset of these diseases. Here, We review the current knowledge of Co-Q10 biosynthesis and primary Co-Q10 deficiency syndrome, and have collected published results from clinical trials based on Co-Q10 supplementation. There is evidence that supplementation positively affects mitochondrial deficiency syndrome and the symptoms of aging based mainly on improvements in bioenergetics. Cardiovascular disease and inflammation are alleviated by the antioxidant effect of Co-Q10. There is a need for further studies and clinical trials involving a greater number of participants undergoing longer treatments in order to assess the benefits of Co-Q10 treatment in metabolic syndrome and diabetes, neurodegenerative disorders, kidney diseases, and human fertility. Introduction. Coenzyme Q, Co-Q, ubiquinone, is a unique lipid-soluble antioxidant that is produced de novo in animals, Reg al. 2014. It is composed of a benzoquinone ring and a polyisoprenoid tail containing between 6 and 10 subunits that are species-specific and confers stability to the molecule inside the phospholipid bilayer. The isoprene chain in Saccharomyces cerevisiae contains 6 subunits, Co-Q6, 7 subunits are present in Crucianella maritima, Co-Q7, 8 in E. coli, Co-Q8. 9 and 10 in mice, Co-Q9 and Co-Q10, and 10 in humans, Co-Q10. Co-Q is a central component in the mitochondrial electron transport chain, etc., located in the inner mitochondrial membrane where it transports electrons from complexes I and II to complex 3 to provide energy for proton translocation to the intermembrane space. Lopez-Luche et al. 2010. Co-Q is also a structural component in complexes I and III and is essential in the stabilization of complex 3 in yeast. Santos-Akana et al. 2002. Tosilescu et al. 2010. The etc. complexes are assembled into respiratory supercomplexes in order to function efficiently and prevent electron leakage to oxygen that ultimately results in the production of reactive oxygen. Species: Ross, Genova and Lenaz. 2014. Guo et al. 2017. Milenkovic et al. 2017. Mitochondrial Co-Q may be associated in discrete pools dedicated to either NADH-coupled or FADH2-coupled electron transport. Lapuente-Brun et al. 2013. Complex I stability is determined by Co-Q redox state. Guaras et al. 2016, and the reduced form of Co-Q, Co-QH2, directs complex I-specific ROS production to extend lifespan in Drosophila. Cialo et al. 2016. Mitochondrial activities such as the dihydroorotate dehydrogenase, beta-oxidation of fatty acids, and mitochondrial glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase contribute also to the increase in Co-QH2 levels. Alcazar-Fabra et al. 2016, Figure 1a. The multiple functions of Co-Q10. Fig. 1a. Mitochondria. 1. The main function of Co-Q10 in mitochondria is to transfer electrons to complex 3, CII. By transferring 2 electrons to CII, the reduced form of Co-Q10, ubiquinol, is oxidized to ubiquinone. The pool of ubiquinol can be restored by accepting electrons either from members of the electron transport chain, C and CII. Glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, GPDH, and dihydroorotate dehydrogenase, DHODH, that use cytosolic electron donors, or from acyl-CoA dehydrogenases, ACADs. 2. Co-Q10 is also a structural component of both C and CII and is associated with respiratory supercomplexes, especially the depicted supercomplex I plus III plus IV. 3. Co-Q10 is an obligatory factor in proton transport by uncoupling proteins, UCPs, with concomitant regulation of mitochondrial activity. Lopez-Luce et al. 2010. Fig. 1b. Cell membrane activities of Co-Q10. Present in nearly all cellular membranes, Co-Q10 offers antioxidant protection, in part by maintaining the reduced state of alpha-tocopherol, alpha-toc, and ascorbic acid, ASC. Furthermore, Co-Q10 also regulates apoptosis by preventing lipid peroxidation. Other functions of Co-Q10 in cell membrane include metabolic regulation, cell signaling, and cell growth through local regulation of cytosolic redox intermediates such as NAD, P, H. Lopez-Luce et al. 2010. Co-Q provides antioxidant protection to cell membranes and plasma lipoproteins. Lopez-Luce et al. 2010. By lowering lipid peroxidation of low-density lipoprotein, LDL, particles that contributes to atherosclerosis. Thomas et al. 1997. Co-Q treatment confers health benefits against cardiovascular diseases. Mortensen et al. 2014, Eilhagen et al. 2016. The antioxidant function of Co-Q is especially important in the plasma membrane by reducing vitamins C and E, and in preventing ceramide-mediated apoptosis. Navas et al. 2007. An important regulator of lifespan in the context of normal aging. De Carbo et al. 2004, Lopez-Luce et al. 2005, Martin Montalvo et al. 2016, Figure 1b. It has been proposed that NAD, P, H, quinone oxidorductase 1, NQO1, acts as a redox-sensitive switch to regulate the response of cells to changes in the redox environment. Ross and Siegel 2017. The pharmacokinetics variability of the different compositions of Co-Q10 may result in fairly different plasma concentration time profiles after Co-Q10 administration. Weiss et al. 1994. Molyneux et al. 2004. Indeed, the major amount of orally supplemented Co-Q10 is eliminated via feces, with only a fraction of ingested Co-Q10 reaching the blood and ultimately the various tissues and organs. Bentinger et al. 2003. For these reasons, Co-Q appears suitable for use in the treatment of different diseases. Here, we present recent advances in Co-Q10 treatment of human diseases and the slowing down of the aging process, and highlight new strategies aimed at delaying the progression of chronic diseases by Co-Q10 supplementation. Co-Q10 biosynthesis pathway. Co-Q10 biosynthesis pathway is initiated in the cytosol where the isoprene tail is made from the conversion of mevalonate, a key intermediate involved in the synthesis of cholesterol and dolichol and protein prenylation adducts. Trevisan et al. 2011. The end of the isoprene tail is formed by a cytosolic heterotetrameric protein complex encoded by PDSS1 and PDSS2 genes. Co-Q10, Kawamikai, 2015. The quinone ring unit is also produced in the cytosol from tyrosine or phenylalanine and attached to the isoprene tail inside mitochondria through the activity of Co-Q2 encoded polyprenyl transferase. LaReg et al. 2014. Acosta et al. 2016. The benzoquinone ring is then modified in the inner mitochondrial membrane, and this process involves at least 12 nuclear encoded proteins. Co-Q, Bentinger al. 2010. Which are required for the formation of a multi-protein complex known as synthome. He al. 2014. Alcazar Fabra al. 2016, Floyd al. 2016. The assembly and stabilization of the synthome is far from being understood, as it may encompass yet to be discovered new interacting protein partners. Allen al. 2015. Morgenstern al. 2017. Co-Q biosynthesis pathway is tightly regulated both at the transcriptional and translational levels. Turanen al. 2000, Breyer-Calver al. 2009, Cascajo al. 2016, and by phosphorylation of some of the complex components. Martin Montalvo al. 2011, 2013, Guo al. 2017, He al. 2017. Co-Q10 deficiency syndrome. Co-Q10 deficiencies are based on decreased Co-Q10 levels and can be measured in skeletal muscle and/or skin fibroblast from patients suffering these rare, frequency less than 1 to 100,000, inherited, clinically and genetically heterogeneous diseases that impair oxidative phosphorylation and other mitochondrial functions. Desbatz al. 2015b, Acosta al. 2016, Gorman al. 2016, Rodriguez Aguilera al. 2017. Co-Q10 deficiency can be caused by mutations in Co-Q genes that encode proteins of the Co-Q biosynthesis pathway, primary deficiency, or as a secondary deficiency caused by defects in other mitochondrial functions that are indirectly involved in the biosynthesis of Co-Q10. Doimo al. 2014, Desbatz al. 2015a, Gorman al. 2016, Ubero al. 2016, Salviati al. 2017. Primary Co-Q10 deficiency is characterized by highly heterogeneous clinical signs, with the severity and symptoms varying greatly as is the age of onset, which can be from birth to the 7th decade, and beyond. Salviati al. 2017. Current clinical manifestations that may indicate primary Co-Q10 deficiency are: 1. Steroid-resistant nephrotic syndrome without mutations in NPHS1 and/or NPHS2 genes, particularly when associated with deafness, retinopathy, and other neurological defects. 2. Mitochondrial encephalopathy including hypertonia, strokes, cerebellar ataxia, spasticity, peripheral neuropathy, and intellectual disability. These patients may also be presenting symptoms of myopathy, retinopathy, optic atrophy, sensorineural hearing loss, and hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. 3. Unexplained ataxia, particularly when family history suggests a recessive autosomal heritage. And 4. Exercise intolerance appearing from 6 to 33 years of age, with muscular weakness and high serum creatine kinase. Primary Co-Q10 deficiencies are conditions where pathogenic mutations have occurred in genes involved in the biosynthesis of Co-Q10. Table 1. Mutations in PDSS2, Co-Q6, and ADCK4, Co-Q8b affect mainly the kidney by inducing steroid-resistant nephrotic syndrome, while Co-Q2 mutations induce multisystem disorders whose severity correlates with the mutated genotype. Desbatz al. 2016. Individuals affected by pathogenic mutations in the deduced amino acid sequence of Co-Q4, Co-Q7, Co-Q9, and/or PDSS1 develop encephalopathy, and those affected by mutations in ADCK3, Co-Q8a develop mainly cerebellar disorders. Abnormally low Co-Q10 levels can be associated with mitochondrial pathologies caused by mutations in genes encoding components of the oxidative phosphorylation chain or of other cellular functions not directly associated with mitochondrial function. Jarrow et al. 2016. Known as secondary Co-Q10 deficiencies, these disorders could represent an adaptive mechanism to bioenergetic requirements. For example, secondary Co-Q10 deficiency can appear in some patients with defects in glucose transport caused by GLUT1 mutations. Jarrow et al. 2014. A group of patients with very severe neuropathies showed impaired Co-Q10 synthesis, indicating the importance of Co-Q10 homeostasis in human health. Asensio et al. 2016. In individuals with primary Co-Q10 deficiency, early treatment with high-dose oral Co-Q10 supplementation improves the pathological phenotype, limits the progression of encephalopathy, and helps recover kidney damage. Montini et al. 2008. Onset of renal symptoms in PDSS2 deficient mice can be prevented with Co-Q10 supplementation. Psyche et al. 2008. The European Medicine Agency, EMA, has recently approved ubiquinol, the reduced form of Co-Q10, Co-Q10H2, as an orphan drug for the treatment of primary Co-Q10 deficiency. However, patients suffering from secondary Co-Q10 deficiency may fail to respond to Co-Q10 supplementation. Pineda et al. 2010. Co-Q10 and aging. A significant reduction in the rate of Co-Q biosynthesis has been proposed to occur during the aging process and aging-associated diseases. Bayer et al. 1985, Kalin et al. 1989. Batino et al. 1995, Turanen et al. 1999. However, there are discrepancies about the relationship between the levels of Co-Q and the progression of aging. Mice lacking one of the alleles of the Co-Q7 gene, MCOQ7, MCLK1 gene, show extended longevity even though their Co-Q levels are the same as wild-type mice, suggesting that a factor other than Co-Q per se may be responsible for lifespan extension in these animals. Lapointe and Hakimi, 2008. However, other in vivo studies have reported a direct association between longevity and mitochondrial levels of Co-Q in the SAMP1 model of senescence-accelerated mice. Tian et al. 2014. Supplementation with ubiquinol has been shown to activate mechanisms controlling mitochondrial biogenesis. Schmeltzer et al. 2010, and delay senescence. Tian et al. 2014. The concentrations of Co-Q10 in the plasma of elderly people are positively correlated with levels of physical activity and cholesterol concentrations. Del Pozo Cruz et al. 2014a, b. As well as with lower lipid oxidative damage. The antioxidant protection conferred by Co-Q10 is associated with skeletal muscle performance during aging, as evidenced by the fact that a high Co-Q10H2, Co-Q10 ratio is accompanied by an increase in muscle strength. Fisher et al. 2016. Conversely, a low Co-Q10H2, Co-Q10 ratio could be predictor of sarcopenia in humans. Older individuals given a combination of selenium and Co-Q10 over a 4-year period reported an improvement in vitality, physical performance, and quality of life. Johansson et al. 2015. Furthermore, Co-Q10 supplementation confers health benefits in elderly people by preventing chronic oxidative stress associated with cardiovascular and neurodegenerative diseases. Gonzalez Guardia et al. 2015. Despite these evidences, More reliable clinical trials focusing on the elderly are needed before considering Co-Q10 as an effective anti-aging therapy. Varela Lopez et al. 2016. Co-Q10 supplementation in the treatment of human diseases. Co-Q10 has been used in the treatment of a number of human pathologies and disorders. Clinical trials, systematic reviews, and meta-analyses have examined the safety and efficacy of Co-Q10 in treating human diseases. With regards to safety, the highest dose for Co-Q10 supplementation is 1,200 mg daily according to well-designed randomized controlled human trials. Although doses as high as 3,000 mg per day have been used in shorter clinical trials, Hathcock and Shao, 2006. Co-Q is generally safe and well tolerated in treating patients suffering from early-stage Huntington disease with 2,400 mg per day of Co-Q10, Magari et al. 2017. As indicated below, prudence is needed when interpreting the results of several clinical trials. A combination of factors including the small number of trials, substantial differences that exist in the experimental designs, dose and duration of treatment, the number of patients enrolled, and the relative short follow-up periods contribute to apparent inconsistencies in the published data. Despite these limitations, Co-Q10 can be considered as an important coadjuvant in the treatment of different diseases, especially in chronic conditions affecting the elderly. Cardiovascular disease. The number of deaths attributed to heart failure is increasing worldwide and has become a global health issue. Heart failure is accompanied by increased ROS formation, which can be attenuated with antioxidants. A systematic review has recently examined the efficacy of Co-Q10 supplementation in the prevention of cardiovascular disease, CVD, without lifestyle intervention, Flowers et al. 2014. These authors interpreted the results to indicate a significant reduction in systolic blood pressure without improvements in other CVD risk factors, such as diastolic blood pressure, total cholesterol, LDL, and high-density lipoprotein, HDL, cholesterol, and triglycerides. A second meta-analysis explored the impact of Co-Q10 in the prevention of complications in patients undergoing cardiac surgery. And the results showed that Co-Q10 therapy lowers the need of inotropic drugs and reduces the appearance of ventricular arrhythmias after surgery. De Frutos et al. 2015. Short-term daily treatment, 12 weeks or less, with 100 mg Co-Q10 improves left ventricular ejection fraction in patients suffering from heart failure. Fatino et al. 2013. In contrast, no effect of Co-Q10 was observed on left ventricular ejection fraction or exercise capacity in patients with heart failure. Madmani et al. 2014. However, a 2-year treatment with Co-Q10, 300 mg per day, as adjunctive therapy in a randomized, controlled multi-center trial affecting 420 patients suffering from chronic heart failure, Q-Symbio trial, demonstrated an improvement in symptoms and reduction in major cardiovascular events. Mortensen et al. 2014. A study on the effects of long-term treatment with Co-Q10, 200 mg per day, plus selenium, 200 micrograms is selenized yeast, in a homogeneous Swedish healthy elderly population, N equals 219, revealed a significant reduction in cardiovascular mortality not only during the 4-year treatment period, but also 10 years later, compared to those taking either a placebo, N equals 222, or were without treatment, N equals 227, Eilhagen et al. 2015, 2016. Kidney disease. Oxidative stress plays an essential role in diabetic kidney disease, and experiments performed on rats showed a promising protective effect of ubiquinol in the kidneys. Ishikawa et al., 2011. However, a meta-analysis study examining the efficiency of antioxidants on the initiation and progression of diabetic kidney disease revealed that antioxidants, including Co-Q10, did not have reliable effects against this disease. Bolognano et al., 2017. Yet, in a recent clinical trial with 65 patients undergoing hemodialysis, supplementation with high amounts of Co-Q10, 1,200 mg per day, lowered F2 isoprostin plasma levels indicative of a reduction in oxidative stress. Rivara et al., 2017. Metabolic syndrome and diabetes. Co-Q10 has been proposed for the treatment of metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes by virtue of its antioxidant properties. However, current results from clinical trials cannot conclusively determine the efficacy of Co-Q10 because either of the missing information on the Co-Q10 formulation used or the low number of trials and/or patients enrolled. One effect attributable to Co-Q10 therapy in type 2 diabetic patients, 260 mg per day for 11 weeks, is its rather mild but significant capacity to reduce fasting plasma glucose levels without changes in fasting insulin and glycated hemoglobin. HbA1c, Maradi et al., 2016. However, analysis of more than 7 trials involving 356 participants showed that Co-Q10 supplementation for at least 12 weeks had no significant effects on glycemic control, lipid profile, or blood pressure in diabetic patients, but was able to reduce serum triglycerides levels. Suxambune et al., 2015. In a follow-up analysis of data obtained from Q-Some bioclinical trials, Mortensen et al., 2014. Eilhagen and colleagues were able to show that in elderly healthy participants who received selenium and Co-Q10 supplementation for over 4 years, an increase in insulin-like growth factor 1, IGF-1, and postprandial insulin-like growth factor binding protein 1, IGF-BP1, levels, and greater age-corrected IGF-1 score based on the standard deviation of the mean value were observed compared with placebo-treated individuals. Eilhagen et al., 2017. Supplementation with Co-Q10 has produced beneficial effects in the treatment of hypercholesterolemia and hypertriglyceridemia by initiating changes in blood lipid concentration. A combination of Co-Q10 with red yeast rice, berberine, polycosanol, astaxanthin, and folic acid significantly decreased total cholesterol (LDL cholesterol), triglycerides, and glucose in the blood while increasing HDL cholesterol levels. Piro et al., 2016. However, the impact of Co-Q10 alone without the other supplements was not directly assessed. Nevertheless, there are reports to suggest that Co-Q10 is very effective in reducing serum triglycerides levels. Suxambune et al., 2015, and plasma lipoprotein, Sahebka et al., 2016. Chronic treatment with statins is associated with myopathy. Law and Rudnicka, 2006. A side effect representing a broad clinical spectrum of disorders largely associated with a decrease in Co-Q10 levels and selenoprotein activity. Thompson et al., 2003. Fedako et al., 2013. Statins impair skeletal muscle and myocardial bioenergetics. Litteru and Langsian, 2007. Via inhibition of 3-hydroxy-3-methylglutaryl-CoA, HMG-CoA, reductase. a key enzyme in the mevalonate pathway implicated in cholesterol and Co-Q biosynthesis, and reduction in mitochondrial complex 3 activity of the electron transport chain, Shiras et al., 2015. A total of 60 patients suffering from statin-associated myopathy were enrolled in a 3-month study to test for efficacy of Co-Q10 and selenium treatment. A consistent reduction in their symptoms, including muscle pain, weakness, cramps, and fatigue, was observed, suggesting an attenuation of the side effects of chronic statin treatment following Co-Q10 supplementation, Fedacco et al., 2013. In a previous study, however, 44 patients suffering from statin-induced myalgia saw no improvement in their conditions after receiving Co-Q10 for 3 months, Young et al., 2007. Other studies have determined that Co-Q10 supplementation improves endothelial dysfunction in type 2 diabetic patients treated with statins, Hamilton et al., 2009, and can reverse the worsening of the diastolic function induced by statins, Silver et al., 2004. Because of its capacity to reduce the side effects of statins, Co-Q10 has been proposed to prevent and/or slow the progression of frailty and sarcopenia in the elderly chronically treated with statins. Concluding remarks. Co-Q10 deficiency can be associated with a number of human diseases and age-related chronic conditions. In some cases, an unbalanced equilibrium between Co-Q10 levels and/or functional etc. leads to mitochondrial dysfunction. In other cases, deficiency in Co-Q10 and its associated antioxidative activity can significantly increase the level of oxidative damage. It seems clear that supplementation with Co-Q10 improves mitochondrial function and confers antioxidant protection for organs and tissues affected by various pathophysiological conditions. The ability of Co-Q10 to protect against the release of pro-inflammatory markers provides an attractive anti-inflammatory therapeutic for the treatment of some human diseases and in aging. We wish you health and wellness. If you like this video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, press the like button and activate the bell to receive all new